Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the TechX Insights webinars. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Not even an afternoon yet. Maybe you are, Mariah, where you're based, but good morning to everyone who's joining us. Today, we are going to be exploring our TechX Clean Energy Accelerator program and all of the exciting opportunities that can bring for energy startups, whether you're in the UK or around the world, whether you're developing a renewable technology, a new hydrogen innovation, something in carbon capture, or perhaps in industrial decarbonisation. The TechX Accelerator is run by the Net Zero Technology Centre, and we're all about supporting those energy innovations to try and get closer to commercialization, to try and test their technologies, and to try and support them as they try and decarbonize our planet. So lots of fun things today. I'm Edward, I'm the TechX Acceleration Manager. I'm also joined by Mariah. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Morning all, my name is Mariah Forbes and I work as our TechX Acceleration Lead.
Excellent. So we've got a packed 30 minutes. We're going to whiz through today. Today is all about exploring why do you apply to the TechX Accelerator. So we're going to tell you a little bit about some of the exciting benefits that you can get as you are possibly considering applying to the TechX Accelerator for this year. So I think we're going to go through some of the different benefits that we've got. So we'll whiz up some slides all throughout today's session. If you do have questions, there should be a little question mark on the side of your screen on Crowdcast. You can pop a question in there and we will try and get round to answering it as we go through today. So this is all about how we help you scale your startup with our net zero experts, and there's some exciting funding up for grabs that we will be talking about in today's session as well. So the first thing you should know about the TechX Accelerator is what it is that you are signing up for. And there is certainly a lot of activity that goes on in signing up for this program. The program runs over a period of 14 weeks. So you get from the start of the program and orientation all the way through to the big finale. There's 14 weeks of busy, intense activity. And that is hybrid. So Mariah, what does that mean in terms of a hybrid program?
It means that we've got a mix of different session formats, one-to-ones and workshops. And we'll go into the schedule in a little bit more detail as we go on. But it does mean that you can participate in the accelerator from anywhere around the world, but we would recommend that it's easy for you to join to a UK time zone. That's where we're based, and that's where we run all our sessions to.
Excellent. So we also are looking for just 10 startups to join the program this year. So it is a competitive process that you are going to be joining into. So there are going to be lots of different applications, but 10 lucky startups get the place on the program and go through this period of development. Now, what does that actually look like? One of the big benefits that you often get from an accelerator is that if you're building your startup, there's so much to learn. I was speaking to some startups the other day, and just the balance of things you have to try and understand, from raising investment to try and building the technology to hiring a team, is such a vast amount. So that's one of the key benefits that you get from the TechX program, is a structured curriculum that takes you through that. So let's take a look at the things that we have designed to try and help startups. We've looked at what it takes to build an energy technology venture. Every year we work with all the alumni that come through our program and all the participants to really nail down, well, what are the key building blocks does it take to understand how to build an energy startup? And this is what we've broken the program into. So the first section is all the foundations. Thankfully, this is in your orientation week, but this is about what are the basics of your business. So what is the purpose and strategy of the business? Who's in the team and how do you build and scale that up? What the structure and legal aspects of the business are, and orientation to the program. So in the first couple of weeks, you'll have some online learning, you'll have some material, all understanding and thinking about those foundations, as well as then how you communicate. And that will be a theme that runs all throughout the program as well. So some of these elements are just baseline. Some of these elements will teach you all throughout the program. But then when we get the first big chunk of the accelerator, we break the program curriculum into 3 different blocks. And the first big block is, of course, the technology. We wouldn't be the Net Zero Technology Centre if we didn't focus on the technology. So in this focused area, we are looking at, well, what is the problem we're solving in your business and how do we validate that? Specifically, the technology journey. So everything from how do we actually do field trials and prototypes? How do we plan our experiments? How do we know what TRL we're going to be at? What material selection do we need to use? How would we kind of manufacture this? What does the product look like? How do we get it certified? How do we know what the climate impact is in terms of carbon calculations? So a huge body of activity to try and help you go from whatever stage you're at, whether that is still in the lab at a university, or maybe you've got your first prototype already, all the way through to figuring out, well, how will that look like if we start to manufacture? So that's block number one. Lots of exciting content in there. Block number two, having a great technology is brilliant, but you need a business around it. You need to be able to try and sell it. So in the second block of the accelerator, and I think we'll get to dates shortly, but I think this is probably about end of April, May time in 2026, we'll then be looking at the business. So who is going to buy this technology? Why are they going to buy it? Who are the customers? How are you going to convince them? What's the business model? So how are you actually going to make money? How are you going to deliver that service to the customers? How are you going to operate the business? Everything from the human resources, digital resources, physical materials, equipment you're going to need, through to your role as leaders in running that business, understanding the personalities you've got, and also your branding, your marketing, your identity. So a big program of activity all around how do you get your business operating clear. And all of this is very relevant, particularly to energy startups. So we try to put that business to business energy startup lens to it. And of course, the final block, no accelerator would be complete without it, is that building energy technologies takes a lot of money. So as much as, and we'll come on to it, the TechX program can help you with money, it's likely that's not going to be everything that you need. You are going to need more funding. So we do spend that last block of the accelerator looking in deep areas about the different stages of funding and how you can get that funding, whether that is early stage angel investing, looking at grant funding, looking at crowdfunding, all the way through to actually preparing for a first equity raise, what that might look like, through to actually what it looks like to raise equity, connecting you to investors, supporting you to plan out not just your first round, but your future rounds as well. And then also thinking about later stage funding and a little bit about maybe scale and exit as well, because we want you to get the most value out of your funding journey through the accelerator. So a huge body of content, and we have loads of great partners that you'll meet, but two in particular that are strategically important to the program are ConocoPhillips, who are our strategic partner, and they are involved at lots of different stages in the process and will be interacting with your companies through one-to-ones in each of the different blocks. In technology, looking at what your technology looks like; in the business block, looking at what potential market opportunities there are and whether there's a potential use case for them. And then again, in the funding block, looking at kind of prize opportunities that they may have as well. And then we have Accenture, our professional services partner, who support us in each of the blocks as well. In the technology block, they have their expertise in carbon calculations. In the business block, they'll be giving you consulting support on your business model. And in the funding block, they'll help you get ready for investment with their specialists as well. So great expertise that you get the benefit of by taking part in the program. But that's the content. But how is it delivered? What on earth are you actually signing up for? Mariah, take us through it.
It seems like a lot to fit into 14 weeks, and I would say it is quite intense. So this year's accelerator will start on the 16th of March, and our first 2 weeks is all around onboarding you onto the program. So running you through the program schedule, running you through our program partners, introducing you to all of the different individuals you will meet throughout the accelerator process, including our TechX team, some of our mentors, and also your coaches. And then also starting to familiarize yourself with our online learning platform in that second week of self-study, our TechX portal. Our TechX portal is where all of our online learning resources, sessions, contacts will live, and it'll become your one-stop shop for everything in TechX during the accelerator. Then as we go into our third week, it's starting of our technology block. The first week of that will be virtual workshops. And typically during those virtual workshop weeks, sessions start around 10 a.m. and finish around 1 p.m. Monday to Thursday. You'll be happy to know that Fridays are always off in the world of TechX. Then once we've completed that first virtual workshop week of the technology block, we head into a self-study and one-to-one week. Again, you're running through that content on the TechX portal, but we will start arranging one-to-one meetings with you, with the partners that maybe delivered some of those virtual workshops, your mentors, your coaches, and anybody else you might engage throughout the accelerator. Our third week of every block is in person. This first one in the technology block will happen in Aberdeen. And this is where you get to meet your fellow startups one-to-one. It's a particular favorite week always of all of our startups that we onboard. And we'll also be running full-time sessions that week, kind of 9 to 5, again, Monday to Thursday, putting some of that learnings you've learned throughout the block into practice through workshops, through networking events, and through what we call our milestone events that happen at around that in-person week towards the end of every block. And then the close of every block, for our technology block, that's on the 20th of April, we'll go into a bit of reflection week. So looking back at the learnings that you've had throughout the block, implementing them and having some proper time to reflect and think how you're going to kind of use these learnings as you start to scale the business and technology. And as we go into our business and funding blocks, they follow a very similar structure. A first week of virtual workshops, then going into a week of one-to-ones and e-learning, then a week in person, and then a week of reflection. And as we head towards the end, you'll see that our final in-person week will include our TechX Demo Day, which is our roundup event where you will present to a room of industry investors and TechX supporters to showcase how you've developed both your businesses and technologies, and end with a final ask. What's next for your startup and how can the room help you? So that's the schedule. It's jam-packed. Those one-to-one weeks, I think people can often think, oh, that's time off. Yes, we want you to be able to have time to work on your businesses during the accelerator, absolutely. But I would say that the schedule overall is quite full on, especially compared to some other accelerator models that maybe are quite self-service. We try and fill your diaries as much as possible when we've got you on program.
It's busy, and I think that's part of the design. I think if you are a startup or you're just getting into this, the biggest challenge we often hear is it can be lonely, it can be difficult, be hard to know where to start. So we've deliberately designed this to be busy for a couple of reasons. One, the purpose of an accelerator is to accelerate you. So if you are maybe slowly working on your business, but you haven't really got to that next stage, this is designed to absolutely push you. And it's a real benefit to have that support. But equally, it gives you guidance in terms of what you need to know and how to know it. And then also, it gives you things to do. Most of these sessions, while the e-learning might be general knowledge that you can quickly go through, and if you haven't heard of a term or a concept before, you can do some of that learning. These workshops, these sessions are really practical. So it's almost like working on your business in each session with those facilitated experts every single time. You know, maybe you don't have a full IP plan in terms of how you're going to develop your patent strategy or know what IP you're using. In the session, you're going to work through it and figure it out and get the support that you need. In the one-to-ones, you will have people to talk to give you that guidance. So it's a big benefit of the program is all of that curriculum and schedule. But another benefit, which is often the one that people are attracted to the most, is the money, which is up to £50,000 of a grant per startup is available through the program. Now, we're going to give some advice on how this funding works, and we're pleased to have our TechX Director and Chief Acceleration Officer, Mark Anderson, I believe, is in the waiting room ready to come on. So Mark will be able to help you through this process in terms of what that looks like, to how to access the funding and what particular terms they are. Mark, welcome.
Thanks, Edward. Hi all. Sorry, I'm on the road, so you won't see my face. Anyway, yeah, I wanted to just talk a bit about the way the funding's working this year. As Edward rightly said, we have up to £50,000 grant per startup, and that's going to be payable as an advance subscription agreement. The way that works is it's a grant until the point that it triggers into equity. And one of the triggers is a significant equity raise. If you raise £100,000 or more in equity after 6 months of joining the accelerator, then the grant will convert into equity. So why do we do this? We do this because we are trying to establish an evergreen fund so that we can help more startups in the future. So we're not looking to profit from it. We're looking to reinvest into more TechX cohorts. We will be able to share the advanced subscription agreement that with you next week. So if you're interested in seeing the agreements, and there are two actually, we will be able to send you draft copies next week. There's the advanced subscription agreement is one agreement, which in the US is known as a SAFE agreement, and the other agreement that goes with it is a pioneer agreement. So the two agreements we will be able to send across. And the ASA is worth reading. It's a short agreement. That's one of the beauties of it. But it is an important agreement. We've been signing ASAs with startups for a few years now, so we're well versed in how to do it. And there's basically one variable, which is the valuation cap. So that's something that we will need to agree with you is the value of your company on signature of the ASA. And we do ask for some information in the application form, and we will be asking for further information to sort of a shortlisted number of applicants when we get to that point, because we want to have a conversation with you as soon as possible about what that valuation might be, valuation cap. The other sort of input is the discount rate, which is set at 20%. So that can be variable in some with some counterparties, but with us it is not. So it's always set at 20%. So that's the ASA, and that's the agreement we would sign with successful applicants to the program. But happy to take questions either now or towards the end of the session. I can see Robert saying, do we need to be SEIS? And the answer is no. We can't benefit from that tax break because we are a government funded not-for-profit. So that doesn't come into play. But good question, Robert. If you've got any other questions, please shove them in the chat. So back to you, Edward and Mariah.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. So as Mark says, there should be a little queue in the side or the chat. Please feel free to ask questions, and just as we get to the end, we'll have a chance to dive into them in a bit more detail. So benefit number 2 is this opportunity for a significant amount of cash funding into your business, which is looking really, really good. Mariah, take us through what are some other benefits that they might get from their network that they'll build.
So we've got a full program schedule, we've got 50k worth of grant funding, and the one that we like to boast about the most is our extensive network. So there's a few different groups of people you'll meet on Accelerator, again, through those one-to-ones, in person during networking events, and also through some larger scale events we have towards the end of the Accelerator. The first of those is our partners and supporters. So there's our professional services partner, Accenture, and our strategic partner, ConocoPhillips, that Edward mentioned up front. But we've got lots of lovely people that help us with lots of different stuff throughout the program as well. So there are our delivery partners that come and deliver expert sessions on the program. There are our supporting partners, our development partners that come and offer their services to the startups at our supporter showcase that happens during our technology in-person week. And these are individuals that can help you with the scaling of your technology and the scaling of your business here and now, and they offer all of our startups discounted rates to do so. We also have our mentors and coaches that you will meet on the Accelerator. Our mentors will be shared with you through a process that is called mentor matching, which is very like speed dating. You will get to see if they are your type on paper, and then select a few that you will meet towards the start of the Accelerator. So we have a network of around 30 mentors that support year on year, some of those returning, some of them new depending on the year, and they're have a range of different expertise, whether it be investment, they've probably may potentially started to start up themselves. There may be experts from industry, and they've kind of committed to supporting one or two startups during the accelerator, meeting with them on a weekly or bi-weekly basis to offer their skills and steer. And there's also our wonderful leadership coaches that you will be connected through to at the start of the accelerator. Edward, do you want to talk about the leadership coaches?
I can do, yes. So these are additional stakeholders who can support you where they're specifically there to develop you and your capability. So while a lot of the accelerator focuses on the business and the technology development, actually the most critical ingredient to how your technology will succeed will be you as its leaders. So this is all about unpicking where do you personally have challenges or uncertainties? Where are you struggling? Where do you have weaknesses? And these leadership coaches will help guide you and support you in those processes to be a voice outside of the accelerator, outside of the technology bubble, to make sure that you're building those skills too. I often say at the start of the accelerator, I make a bold promise, which I've revised a few times, that if you start the TechX Accelerator with a blank black book of contacts, by the end of the accelerator, if you take them up every opportunity, every introduction, every meeting that you get, I'm pretty confident that you'll have well over 200 new connections through the process, whether that's other founders, whether that's partners, whether that's mentors, coaches, industry, and others. And one of the key areas we really want to help you is in those industry expertise voices, because this is not like selling a consumer product where you can nip to the supermarket and find your customers. These are really complicated technologies and really difficult to get access to industry. So we try our very best to support you in that, whether that is through inviting them to be your mentors and coaches, whether that's inviting them to review your applications as judges so that they get to know you, whether that is through putting on events where you get to showcase your technology to industry, whether that's taking you to some of the key leading events or conferences or activities that might help, whether that's site visits as part of the program, or whether that's directly through making introductions and one-to-ones with industry to help you support your development. We would love to see the goal for us is that through the TechX program, you bumped into a potential customer, you have a conversation that we've helped facilitate, you maybe get a letter of intent or a field trial. That's the dream, and we'll do everything we can. Can't guarantee, lots of technologies are different, so we can't guarantee we know everyone in every different sector. I'm sure I had a couple of startups previously who were looking for access to farms and fishing and shipping and all sorts of areas that's slightly outside of our remit, but still we put in the effort to try and help connect them to those people too. And then, of course, the other area where we try to help you is in investment. So, Mariah, what do we do to try and help startups get access to investors?
Yeah, it's a great flag. So towards the end of the accelerator, we've just put you through all of that wonderful funding block where we're teaching you the investment lingo and helping you start to build out your investment deck. And we have a commitment to connect you with investor organizations. Whether you're currently looking at fundraising or fundraising in the future, we will share your profile with lots of wonderful investors for them to kind of show interest in you, and we'll arrange one-to-one meetings with you and those investors. As well as that, we'll put our best efforts to make sure that they are in the room for demo day, so they're hearing you live around pitching around your startup and how amazing your technology is. And as we go into post-accelerator, post-program as well, we do our best to support you when you are raising that funding to make one-on-one introductions to our investment network, all of which have been scouted to make sure they are relevant to the startups that are in our pipeline.
Gosh, why wouldn't you apply, Mariah? It comes with all this support, these training, these investors, massive network, and of course the funding too. And the reason is, well, actually, we have to self-promote here. The startups do really like it. So thankfully, this is us going into cohort 8 of the TechX Accelerator. And while it evolves every single year, what has stayed strong is that the startups really do find value. Maybe some of you have spoken to them. They're listed on our website. Definitely have a word with those who've been through the program to see what they said. But really, we see this. So some of these comments in terms of how the program has took them to another level, how it's connected them to people, how the team itself works so hard to try and help your startups, how the mentors and all the other experts support you. And also, we really do try to focus on it being energy relevant. So this isn't a generic startup accelerator that covers all sorts of areas. We are trying to be the energy technology experts with your startups. So we try to provide really practical, relevant things that keep everything as close to the real world situation as possible. And if you've heard of Net Promoter Score, this is a feedback metric we get where we ask all of the participants who went through the last cohort what they thought, and 100 was the score that they got, which means all of them would promote the program to others to take part in. So we're really proud of the work we've put in to make the program as best as it can be. So if that's not a reason, then another one is that actually we also have the great success stories as well. Mariah, you've been with the program since cohort 2, I think it is. So you've seen how impressive it is. Kind of what are some examples of what the startups that you've seen join the program go on to achieve are?
Yeah, so our first accelerator was back in 2018, and since then, we've run 7, and we are now promoting number 8. And through those accelerators, we have supported 81 startups. And of that 81, 90% are still in operation, which is a super high metric if you know that kind of the startup success rate is typically 1 in 10. So we love to boast about that 90% number. And typically we say we will support startups 2 years post-program. I think we're in contact still with the majority of that 90%, whether it is kind of making those investor introductions, jumping on a call with them, or kind of even catching up with them at those networking events that we mentioned earlier. And of that 90%, post-program, they have raised 181 million of equity funding and created 382 jobs. So not only are they in operation, but they're doing lots of wonderful things and being super successful and creating jobs and managing to scale those businesses. And I think that job creation numbers particularly strong when we think that typically when people are joining the accelerator, they're a team of around 2 to around potentially, I think we had one that was maybe 6 on the accelerator this year. So small teams, super, super early stage companies that are starting. Usually they've been just around incorporation or incorporated for a couple of years. So that 382 number and how they've managed to scale those businesses is really amazing. And I've pulled up some key startups that have had successes in the last 3 months. So first of all is Immaterial. They were part of cohort 1 and back in 2019. They were a small team when they first joined the accelerator, and now they're a team of over 20 people, and they've successfully just closed their Series A round with 13.5 million in funding, which is huge. And I'm sure for a few of you all on the line that seems like, gosh, that's miles down the road. But I really think that as we kind of shape you throughout TechX, these things become more and more realistic as we go forward. Another one is Electrogenos. They came through cohort 5, I think it was. Edward, you were with us by then. They're developing a novel electrolyzer design, and they've just been named the UAE winner of the KPMG Private Enterprise Global Tech Innovator. Long name, gosh, could hardly get it out there. So another great success for a startup that have been through the accelerator more recently. And then we've got 2 that came through last year, Edward.
Yeah, so even just this year, actually, even just earlier this year, yeah, they applied last year, so they were in your position this time last year, but actually they only graduated in June this year of the program. And CGen were named UK National Clean Tech Startup of the Year this year with their generator technology. And Remedium, who actually won a prize at our demo day back in June, has gone on to win another exciting prize, which they were the energy domain winner at the Enterprise Singapore Slingshot competition. So there's about 7,000 almost global applicants who apply to go to Singapore as part of the Singapore Week of Innovation and Technology. And they won, which I think it does come with a $60,000 prize to even just get, the domain winner. It might be more. So really impressive to see that they've taken the capabilities they got from the program to go on to those activities. So in 30 minutes, that's us covered our key areas of the accelerator. We're going to tell you a little bit more about how to apply, but just a reminder that you have a last chance to ask questions now. So pop them in the chat and we'll come to them in just a moment. If you have any questions, I can see a couple in there already. So please make sure you fire in any questions you've got. But if that has convinced you, so it comes with great curriculum. It has the support network. The startups have appreciated it, and it comes with funding. So, okay, I think maybe you're hopefully convinced why you might want to apply for this. or maybe it sounds terrifying and really busy. But how do they actually get started? If they're thinking, okay, sounds good, I want to know more, where do they go, Mariah?
So, for all of this information and more, you can head to our website, which is NZTC.com, where you will find a list of the full applicant criteria to figure out whether you are in scope to apply. And you'll see all of our application criteria as well. So, how to apply. We are a video application, and so you'll need to record a 5-minute video as well as provide a supporting deck and complete our application form, which is on our new application portal, again, which is linked on our website. But as we flagged, our funding mechanism is slightly different this year, as well as kind of the program structure. So I'd encourage everybody to go online onto our website and download our applicant handbook, where we list out all of those FAQs and that application criteria, a little bit more about the program and a little bit more about the funding mechanism as well. So it's a great document to get you started when you're starting to think about your application.
Excellent. So let's quick fire into some questions. So I think Mark's answered Harlan's question in the chat, which was what percentage equity would the SAFE convert to? And I think Mark's answered that. So I'll quickly reply saying that it actually does depend on the valuation cap that's set and the valuation cap of the company when you complete a qualifying equity raise. So there's a few different, there's two terms that it might trigger with. It's either a price per share or it's a valuation cap calculation. So it does depend. So once you get those kind of terms come through, you can contact Mark, who will keep you right on what that looks like. But generally, we're not there to try and take huge equity stakes in your company. So at least in the ones that we've seen previously, we're not talking, huge double-digit equity raises. But I can't guarantee what it'll look like for this year. Depends on your own individual circumstances, but generally it's not a huge amount. So Laura has asked, what's your network of industry like in marine, maritime, commercial, recreational? So some of those in terms of boat builders, crew boats, that side maybe slightly less, but in terms of shipping, ports and marine, particularly things like Port of Aberdeen, the ports around Scotland, a really strong network. And actually right now we are running a competition with Scottish Enterprise on a maritime digital technology bridge program, where we are working with all loads of ports, shipping providers, and marine technology companies across Scotland to find technologies to solve marine digital problems. So yes, we probably have quite a good network in some of those areas. And one of our startups called Aqua Ocean, who graduated a few years ago, have a hydrogen powered vessel. So again, we have some alumni network that we can tap into there too, which is really good. Mariah, maybe one for you. Did we have one biggest mistake you see in applicants applying?
Yeah, I guess we typically see around just under 200 applications a year. So we've seen a lot of applicant videos. I would say two that stand out for me. One is reusing a video you've used for another application or uploading a past demo day pitch you've done for another accelerator. It doesn't show a real interest or commitment to the accelerator or why you want to apply. And you'll see within our application criteria, we actually list all of the questions you need to answer within your video. And one of them is why you want to get onto the TechX Accelerator. So if you're reusing another video, it's very unlikely that you've answered that question and probably a few other questions that appear there. So reusing a past video and not filming one specifically for your TechX application. And number two is not demonstrating how your technology works. Any visuals, props, anything like that you can use within your video to actually help us understand the technology is highly recommended. Quite often we see people just chat us through it, and it really helps to have props and support aids to help our assessors understand kind of the nuts and bolts behind the tech, I would say. Any from you, Edward?
That's definitely some key ones. I think one that often comes up is around the intellectual property worries. How much can we actually talk about? Our experts are often from industry. They understand the technology. They are covered by confidentiality agreements. So I understand you have to be protected, but equally they do want to know what happens. Sometimes we see applications where it's a magic black box, but we really can't judge that. So my analogy that I often use, if you're worried about what to share, you do need to get your own advice to know what you can and can't share on your intellectual property, but try to give us a sense. Imagine you're baking a cake. We need to know what the cake is. We need to know what the flavor is. We need to get a sense of that it'll be delicious. It's going to be a chocolate sponge cake. We kind of can picture it and know how you're getting there, but we don't have the recipe. We don't know the ingredients. We don't know the steps to take, so we can't replicate it. So that should allow you to not give away all of the technical detail, but enough that we can kind of get a sense, rather than say, we're going to bake you a pudding. We have no idea what that is. It's a bit of a silly analogy, but I think you do need to balance that one in there as well. And if you do want to know more about the detail, we're quick firing through this today, but actually on the 16th of December, we're going to do another webinar for 30 minutes where we're going to dive into actually how to apply and really how to stand out. So we're going to go through each of those questions and what we think a really good answer or material would look like. So another question we've had here from Robert, I think a bit earlier on, was, can the slide deck be submitted as part of the video? If not, does it matter if the slide deck mimics any of the slides shown in the video? Do you want to pick that one up, Mariah?
So you do have to submit your supporting deck, that we call it, separately, and it's 5 pages. Again, we explain that on the website and within our applicant handbook. You can kind of share those slides within your video as well, but I would say that would be a bit of a wasted opportunity. The video, you've only got 5 minutes, you'll struggle to squeeze a lot in there. So use your supporting deck as a chance to share additional information. You can mimic, and it could be the exact same content. But if it was me, I'd be wanting to share as much information with the assessors as possible. So I would try and have it as different content, that's stuff you couldn't squeeze into your application video.
I had this question yesterday from an applicant, and they were asking, can I just video record me doing a presentation? So just have a PowerPoint and then just talk through it. You can. We're not expecting Spielberg level filming, but it is probably a bit of a waste. If I'm honest, the applications we've seen where it very much is almost textbook pages of slides with tons of detail and just a tiny little face in the corner talking through it really don't create a lasting impact. It almost should be show and tell. These are people who are excited by technology. Even if you don't have the technology done, we've seen really exciting things where even people use props and they say, well, this is this thing and this is that thing, and imagine it does this, just to visualize it, or even just drawing something as you're talking through it on a whiteboard to kind of bring it to life, or having a slide, but having it, load up little things one by one. So instead of one big, super complicated technical diagram, have a slide, but you talk through and say, well, here's the entry point. This is the electricity. Here's where the, water comes in. Here's the hydrogen system. This is what happens. So make it as instinctive as you can and as interesting as you can. So physical props are great. Diagrams are useful, but equally definitely have that slide pack with those additional maybe technology diagrams or annotated pictures of your prototype, because what's super useful about the slide pack is that once the judges have reviewed all the applications and they're coming back at the end of the day and they're deciding, yeah, we really love that one, the slide pack really is the cheat sheet where they quickly can flick through and go, oh, that was the one that had this, that, or the other. So the slide pack, make it quick and easy to remember, oh, that was the technology that did this. Or if in the video there's a bit they don't quite understand, they're kind of, how much power was needed? How did that work? They can quickly go to the slide pack, and there's a couple of slides that specifically give them the detail that they need for that. Excellent. So we will go into a lot more detail very soon on those in our future webinars, but hopefully today we have given you some overview as to why you might want to apply to the TechX Accelerator program. So last chance for any questions. So Laura's put in a question there. Do you want the video to only be technically focused, not customer or market? You'll see in the application guidance what we wanted to cover. I think very much the guidance I often give is the first 20, 30 seconds probably is a bit customer focused, but focus on the problem. Paint the picture of what's not working. So who is having an issue? Is it a particular customer? Is it market group? Is it the planet overall? And what isn't working? What is not satisfactory about what's happening at the moment? And then go into, well, we have the solution to solve that problem, and here's what that solution looks like. And we do want a good couple of minutes all about the technology, how it works, why it's innovative, what stage of development that it's at. And if it was working, what impact is it going to have? Is it going to be good for the climate? Is it going to be able to save customers costs? So that's probably a good 3-ish minutes of your video is, this is the problem. Here's what we're actually planning to build. The last couple is much more about the team and why TechX. So we're probably not looking for market sizing. We're probably not looking for what the pricing for the technology is in this point. We're probably then looking about, well, who can execute this? This is the vision of what we're going to build. Who's the team that can actually build it, and why this particular program? So throughout the rest of the accelerator, yes, we probably will be asking more about your market, who's going to buy it, why they're going to buy it, what the market sizing is. In this, probably not so much. It is very much a technology focused application, and it doesn't need to be overly technical. We do want, to know the technology, but we also need it to be explained in a relatively easy to understand way, because while some of the assessors will be very relevant to your particular niche, some of them will not know your particular sector as well. So we need it explained in a way that is nice and easy to understand.
I feel like we could chat around the video and the application for hours, because we've sat and watched so many of these so many times. So we've got a session coming up all around the applicant criteria, so looking around our technology focus areas and our startup criteria. So that's the one that's coming up next, and the one following that will be application and top tips. So we'll chat around the superstars that we've seen that I still remember. I've still got one from cohort 3 that stands out in my head. And then the ones that we've seen that we think, oh, we wish they'd included that. So if you come to our follow-up webinars, or you can watch the recording after, and we'll go into all of that detail around the application. But your applicant handbook is the best place to start for that. And that's us, Edward. We've chatted for too long, as always.
I know, it's supposed to be 30 minutes. Thank you for sticking on that little bit at the end. Appreciate your time for this quick fire kind of early lunch session. If you have any questions, then get in touch at techx@netzerotc.com as well, or you probably have the emails and contacts of the team from the webinar. But we're very happy to answer questions. And as you get closer to video production, we can also help you. Mariah and I don't get to do the actual judging, so we get to help you get the best application possible. So as we get closer to those videos, we'll try our very best. Although bearing in mind, applications close on the 5th of January. So you do need to maybe get a bit of a head start from our advice, because there will be a bit of a Christmas break where we might not be as quick to respond. So bear that in mind. You have until the 5th of January to get your submission in, and we'll be able to answer any questions before that. But that's what these webinars are for. So use us while we are here. Thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to apply as soon as you can, and we look forward to speaking to you all very soon. Goodbye.
Good luck.